Welcome back to the pit lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after I would say a pretty exciting, all things considered, battle on the bricks here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The final 6-hour race for IMSA here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This race, of course, becoming a 2-hour and 40-minute event next year. The 6-hour event moving to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The traditional ceremonies are underway behind us as all of the class winners are kissing the bricks. But certainly an exciting weekend. I got to give a shout out to all. I think I saw at least 3 people, possibly more, wearing our David Land shirts from the Gutswear trailer and on gutswear.com. That's absolutely awesome. We've got some more shirts coming very soon. Hopefully by the time Petit Le Mans rolls around, we'll have those ready to go. But yeah. That was awesome to see. Like, you guys could have chosen any t-shirt and you chose mine. So that means a lot. And what also would mean a lot to me is if you subscribe, like the video, and comment. Helps me out a lot, and it's free to do. It's not a $20 t-shirt like some of you guys who are really committed were able to do. So this race actually, in a lot of ways, was complete domination by one manufacturer. Cadillac ran or led all but 7 laps of today's race, which would say, you know, if you looked at it just on paper, you'd say it was a very boring race, but it was anything but, especially in the overall standings. So it was the number 31 Cadillac taking the first win for Cadillac this season. That's the Whelen Engineering car. Jack Aitken finished the car, Earl Bamber and Frederick Vesti. One of the few in GTD that chose to operate with a 3-driver lineup. So, you know, you have a choice in a 6-hour race. You can go 2 drivers, you can go 3. And I guess the freshness of the 3 drivers helped them out a little bit, at least to what they said in the press conference. And I do want to hear a little bit from Jack Aitken, who, of course, did drive the number 31 Cadillac across the line. And here's what he had to say about finally getting Cadillac a win in IMSA this year.
Yeah, it's a bit of a relief to get the first one under the belt for the year. I think we had a really awesome car today that was working well also in qualifying, and we were a little bit fortunate that the 60 had trouble in quality to take the pole. But I think with the number of laps that we led today, it shows how well we were working as a team, and it was nice having the flexibility of 3 drivers. It was quite a hard day out, I think, with some extended runs of green. And yeah, I think it was a really fun race at the end, really tough, but a lot of fun trying to hit the number and hold the track position at the same time.
So like I said, it was extremely dominant. And if you look at the 31 car, I mean, really from the pole position, they led most of the event. Now, you might say, wait a second, David. Yesterday you said the number 60 Acura was on the pole. And that was right at the time. But the 60 Acura for Meyershank Racing was actually dinged in post-qualifying tech for the bodywork compliance not quite being correct. It was later reported by Radio Le Mans, Ryan Marine, that that was a chassis part manufactured by Orica, not anything that Meyershank could control or anything that Acura produces. But the end result was the same. That car went to the back. And yeah, I mean, Cadillac, and specifically the 31, was just completely dominant the entire time. And if you look at the difficulties that Cadillac has had this year, obviously they did get a win in the World Endurance Championship at Interlagos, but here in IMSA, it's just been a struggle. And, you know, the curiosity of Wayne Taylor Racing has also been one that everybody's been talking about throughout this year. They finished second in a fuel mileage second place, because otherwise, if that yellow at the end for Toby Sowery getting into the wall, they wouldn't have even finished the race on the virtual energy that they had. But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, and a little bit of luck finally fell Wayne Taylor's way. But yeah, the fuel mileage I thought was super interesting towards the end of the race. And typically I don't say that, but you know, when you had some of the cars saving, when it wasn't assured that there was going to be a yellow, you saw some cars charge to the field like the Aston and the Lamborghini, and you thought, oh my God, you know, is the Aston going to get a podium? You saw the 60 car, which really had been knocking on the door a little bit, but it didn't look like it was exactly a contender, suddenly become a contender and then fall back a little bit, especially into the clutches of the 10 car. So yeah, I thought in GTP, for as dominant of a race it was from the 31, I still thought it was pretty entertaining. And I should mention the Lamborghini. I mean, I think they're, in particular, Riley Motorsports, which runs that program, is going to be extremely disappointed with their result today, because that car had top 5 pace the entire race. Ultimately, they chose to pit early. we're kind of banking on the rest of the GTP field having to run out of fuel, or at least a sizable portion of them, to maintain their position. That did not happen, so they ultimately are well back in the order. Aston Martin had one of their strongest races pace-wise. I mean, they were right there the entire race. So really great for the Valkyrie, and even with a spin under yellow and making contact under yellow with one of the GTD Ferraris. Yeah, Aston had a good day, and then Acura. I mean, we all went into this thing thinking Acura was going to win it. The 93 car looked good in the first 3 hours of the race. Looked like they were the only car that was really able to keep pace with the 31. And then they kind of fell off, ultimately got in the wall coming off of the final corner. I almost said turn 4. I'm still on the oval thinking path. And then, as I mentioned, the 60 was kind of not as fast early on in the race as the 93 car was, but they were there at the finish, and it looked at a time like they were going to take the win. LMP2 TDS Racing, at least I got one prediction right, and Mikkel Jensen, Hunter McElrea, and Stephen Thomas taking the win at Indianapolis. That's back-to-back for them, and for the time being, they're the only LMP2 team that's ever won at the 6 hours at Indianapolis, and LMP2 was LMP2ing today. I mean, it was a lot of contact, a lot of yellows caused, and a lot of crash damage. But, you know, I guess somebody has to take up the mantle of LMP3. GTD Pro, Ford number 64 won Multimatic Motorsports with that one. That was Sebastian Priaulx and Mike Rockenfeller. Two-driver lineup there. Good for the Fords. I thought they looked pretty strong. You know, obviously it was going to be a tough battle with Paul Miller Racing. They were definitely, their BMW M4s, they were definitely the other real fast car this weekend. But Paul Miller kind of did Paul Miller things, and there was some contact and some penalties, and they ended up further down the order. And speaking of contact and penalties, Rexy, the AO Racing number 77 Porsche, sure did get bullied a lot. Got run into by the Corvette and the Paul Miller car, and, well, I guess it was the usual suspects, wasn't it? And then, yeah, after the finish, it was kind of weird because they had some beef after the checkered flag with the number 57 Windward Racing GTD car. I'm not really sure why they were making contact, but they were. And yeah, it was just argy-bargy a lot. We'll talk in just a second about the driving standards and the differences between here and Road America, because I think they're stark. And I think it was actually a good thing that, you know, the changes that Bo Barfield and the race direction here at IMSA made. But GTD, the class that requires a driver that's not a pro to participate, it was Inception Racing, their Ferrari, on the 1-year anniversary of them switching to Ferrari. They switched from McLaren to Ferrari at this event last year. Brendan Reeb, Ollie Milroy, and Frederick Schandorf winning. I got them all right this time. Winning in the GTD category. They actually lost the front hood or bonnet, I guess you could say, off of their Ferrari. Brought out a yellow at one point. So for them to win, kind of coming back from adversity, one of the last yellows of the race, in fact, when that big piece of debris came off. But I mentioned the officiating, and this is one where I've got to give a lot of credit where credit's due to IMSA and Bo Barfield and the officiating there, because you know, I think a lot of the industry felt that what took place at Road America and what had been kind of building to Road America throughout the season was kind of unacceptable. And you know, the fact that you saw a lot of guys getting run off of the road and crashing into each other and really kind of being able to get away with it with no consequence, I think led to the racing not being nearly as good as it could have been. And I think you look at the racing today, and I think there was a lot of side-by-side stuff, a lot of you know, a lot of close, tough racing, some contact, but pretty fair. And yes, there were a lot of drive-throughs, a lot of penalties today. You don't necessarily love to see that, but I guess it beats the alternative of just seeing a bunch of just nonsense and horse pucky and cars crashing all over the place. So from that perspective, I think there was a nice balance struck today. And I'm kind of looking forward to Petit Le Mans, how the race is officiated, because I think it could be quite good. And I suppose, since this is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and this is me talking, I suppose I should put it into historical perspective about this particular race. It's going to be an oddity, for sure, if you think about it, because this is the last 6 hour. There were only 2 of them in history, at least for the IMSA sports cars. Of course, if you want to come back here in a month's time for SRO, you can see an 8-hour race, which has actually had a much longer lifespan here at the Speedway and goes into the night, which I think a lot of people will like. No TV windows to worry about with SRO, that's for sure. But yeah, I think this is going to be an oddity. It's going to be one of those things that's a trivia question, you know, a decade from now. It's like, well, hey, remember when IMSA did a 6-hour endurance race here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and people will go, yeah, I remember that. Who won? And it'll be like, yeah, one year was a BMW won too, and one year it was the Whelen Cadillac. And you know, as IMSA continues to kind of try to find their footing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I do have a few questions. I think this was this facility swallows people, right? Like, you know, once the race let out and you saw everybody kind of milling around, you said, okay, this was not really a bad crowd. I mean, the grid walk, and this is a narrow pit lane here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, by the way, so the grid walk kind of felt crazier than it probably was. But it felt like there was a lot of people here. And, you know, probably more than last year. I think the weather kind of kept people away last year. So the question mark that I'm going to have going forward with this particular race is going to be this. What does this race look like, and how do you sell it to people as a sprint race? What's the value add for the customers of this facility that will get them excited, get them energetic and ready to watch IMSA racing and consume that product if it's a sprint race? So I don't know how you accomplish that. I think it's going to be a good race next year, especially because of this pit lane, by the way. Something that's so important in those IMSA sprint races is the strategy. And with a long pit lane delta here, I think probably the longest in IMSA, I think you could have some exciting and unpredictable racing next year. Is that going to be enough to sell it to the public without an endurance-sized grid, without some of the cars and the stars that show up for the endurance rounds of the championship? It's going to be a tough sell. So I think, you know, support races would be important. I'll throw something against the wall. I thought about this last night when I was driving or back home from the Speedway, and I'm just going to throw this out there. I know nothing, just an idea. The IndyCar season ends in early September. You know, we don't need the full field here. Let's get the top 10 in points. Sunday morning, have an all-star race, and then run 2 hours and 45 minutes of IMSA after that. Just a thought. That's my idea. Just throwing it out there. That's how you get people out here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and watch some IMSA. But yeah, it's weird. I think this is probably, I mean, I don't think I'm going to really have like in-depth coverage of the 8 hours, so this is the last race coverage of the year from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Of course, we'll be at Road Atlanta for Motul Petit Le Mans. Really looking forward to that. As always, it's one of my favorite races of the year. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.